What's going on, guys? We're going to go over tactics. I'm going to show you how to set up your tactics and your team, your setup, all the different parameters meaning, because people are saying, oh, what does all this mean? I'm going to go through all that. Before I do start the video, I want to say this video is sponsored by my Patreon series. My FC school has already started. We already have videos there, including videos on all the tactics, all the focuses, how all the roles work, and we've got loads of tactics being uploaded every single day. So if you want to get better at F25, the Patreon school, the FC school has started. And don't forget, not just that, we've also got hundreds of videos on the Patreon series. If you don't get better after 1 month, you'll refund your money. That's a Nil Guys guarantee. But let's go back into the video. So tactics. So basically, in Ultimate Team, your balance system would be the same as last year. So you press the L3 and you press team management, and you can press left pad, D-pad left and right, and you can navigate. Now you can have up to 5 different tactics. So your default tactic would be like last year. Your balance tactic would be the one for chemistry purposes. Then you can create 4 additional tactics. You can also use a code, and I have a list of my codes at nilfcroles.com for my recommended use codes. You have an option to create a tactic. So this is the way we do it. So we're going to create a new tactic. Let's create one. We're going to call this NG. Now the good thing is this year, when you create a new tactic, you can actually see it inside the game. So when you press your D-pad, you can see, for example, what the tactic is called. So you can see now I've got 2 tactics. I've got one default, one NG. Now think of NG, like remember you had ultra defensive, defensive, attacking, ultra attacking. Think of this NG one, just one of those slots, okay? So you can see here I've got a tactic. I can press edit, okay? Now, first of all, tactical preset. Now, these are, you can press triangle and you can view all the tactical presets. Look, to be honest, don't use these. These are probably the most simplified version of tactics. You want to ideally adjust this yourself. And to be honest, I don't even think some of them are completely correct. Cautious with a 4-1-2-1-2. Direct play with a 4-1-4-1. So no, you want to switch over here and you want to go to custom, and that will allow you to fine tune your tactics like last year. So choosing your depth, whatever you want. Now, this is the most important one, the formation, okay? Now, we've created a new tactic slot, okay? Now, just like last year, we can change into a new different formation, keeping our team still in chemistry. So for example, I can choose, let's say I want to choose a 4-4-2. I can play that. This is very important. Whatever formation you want to defend in, this is the formation you choose here. So I'm going to go, if I press R1, that's player roles. Now you can switch the view in possession and out of possession. So just a quick example, I can make, for example, Lavelle there, and I can, for example, make, just as a hypothetical example, I'm going to then move Tonali to, for example, a half winger. So I can make this formation kind of like a 4-1-2-1-2 wide, but in possession, I'm in a 4-4-2. So this formation you choose here is very, very important because this will be your defensive formation. So you can only change how your team fares in possession of the ball, but out of possession, when you're defending, when your opponent has the ball, it will be this formation. So this formation is actually more important than you think. And of course, depending on what formation you choose, you have different focuses, different roles, and different systems. So the very thing, there's going to be so many unique different formations. So let's say we picked, for example, the 4-2-2, okay? Then you picked your build-up style. Now it's been simplified. There's only short passing, balanced, and counter-attack. Balance would be the one that I'd recommend, especially when a game comes out. Short passing is one when players come towards you. Now, you've got to think about this. When you want a player who's got a role, do you want that player to come short towards you and provide you support, or do you want to be making runs in behind? This is kind of like slow build-up play last year, if you've used that one, okay? Then you have balanced, similar like last year, balanced. Then you have counter-attack. Now, think of this like a mix between long ball and fast build-up play. There's no long ball anymore, unfortunately, and there's no fast build-up play. I feel like they've amalgamated it into this counter one. This is actually a pretty good one. Don't look at it like counter. Think of this like when I have the ball, players make runs in behind. So from the Nil Guide style, build-up play, this means players get in behind. This is balanced, players go forward and they get in behind. And this one is players come short and provide support, kind of like possession play, okay? Then you have the defensive approach, okay? So for example, you have options, you have aggressive, and you go all the way down to high, medium, balanced, high, balanced, or deep. Now, you can press triangle and you can automatically adjust this just like how you would last year. You can do 0 to 100. So for example, if you wanted to make a depth, let's say 45, for example, you can do that. And that's what I'd recommend when the game comes out. It's always good, I would say, probably to use a balance system. You can always tinker with short passing later, but just to see a feel of how the game feels. So that's what I recommend. So you might say to me, oh, Neil, how do I change free kick takers? That's been changed. We'll come over that in a second. Next thing you're going to ask me is, oh, but what about width? What about depth? Now, what you can't do this year, fortunately, is you can't choose the defensive width or the attacking width. That's determined by EA. So what do I want to do? So if, let's say, for example, I have a 4-4-2 here, or 4-2-2. Let's say, for example, I wanted to increase the width, for example, of a right back. What I could do, for example, is I can always switch to in view, so you know what they're on possession. So this would be a traditional. I can make it more narrow with a false back. I can make this player more attacking with attacking wing back with a role. If, for example, like let's say Guti, let's say I have different choices, but I can also make Guti a winger. So effectively, if you want to increase and decrease the width of your team offensively, then you can apply a role that can try to simulate that, but you can't decrease. Maybe that's a good thing. You can't decrease your defensive depth, so you can't adjust that. So now it's just defensive approach. There's no width, there's only depth, and that's it. There's no press to possession loss. That is kind of built in. So if you did, for example, aggressive, you would kind of be like constant pressure. This would be like press to possession loss, for example. So it's all built into this whole defensive approach system. Okay, so that is your tactics. You can press X and you can save changes. Okay, then you press the R1 button. We're going to end up going here to roles. Okay, so now you can see, actually, you know what, we'll come back to this first. If you're wondering where the free kicks and everything has gone, you back out of this. You can see on the top, just on the right hand side, you can see assignments. Press R1. That is where you can set your free kick takers. Now, you also can't choose what players get inside the box. That's been changed. But as new additions this year, you can choose, for example, positions on corners, corner kick instructions, target player, the near post player, and the back post player. So both for defensive and offensive as well. So I'm just going to press no to that. So let's go into the roles. So that is your team. So let's say you chose your team, you've got your chemistry sorted, and you've got the player role sorted. Go back to team management, and then we're going to go to our tactics, right? So you can see we have the default tactic, and we're just going to create a new one because we didn't save it. We're just going to call this A, and you can see here we can create up to. So I'm going to do, if I do B, create what? I'm just going to keep creating these. I'm just going to show you. So you can create as many tactics as you want, up to 5. So you see, if I create one more, if I try to create one more, you have a limit of 5 tactics. Okay. So these would be the 5 different slots that you make. So like for each individual tactic, you can go in and you can change your formation and stuff like that. And then once you're finished, you can. There's 2 ways you can make a tactic active. You can press triangle, so you can pause the game and press. So let's say, for example, you pause the game using this formation. You want to change to this one. You can press triangle, or now the left is the new D-pad option to change tactics inside the game. So what about roles now? Now this is where things are going to get complicated. I try to keep this as seamless as possible, but every player, for example, has different roles, okay? And this will allow them to play in a position, okay? So if for example, Lavelle has a striker, shadow striker ++. That means in a cam position, she can play that role at a world-class level. Now, do you need to worry about them too much at this point of the game? I would say no, okay? But let's say, for example, I want to make a system now that, let's say, it attacks in, let's say, a 4-1-2-1-2, but it defends in, let's say, a 4-3-3. So first of all, I got to choose a formation. So remember, this is your defensive formation. So let's say I wanted to hypothetically defend in a 4-3-3. So I'm going to do that now. So I'm just going to select here 4-3-3. Let's say the one that I want to do is one with 2 CDMs, okay? And let's say, for example, okay, and let's say I choose, for example, short passing, and I choose, let's just do counter, and let's say I choose high, okay? So it's quite an aggressive formation. I'm still going to be pressing the ball, but that's how my team looks defensively. Now, in possession, let's say I wanted to create a unique system. I wanted to attack in like a 2-2-1-3, for example. Well, I can set that up. So, for example, I can just switch views to with the ball whenever you see that. So now you can apply different roles. So these are all the different roles, and these are all the different focuses. So for example, I can make Trent, for example, attacking wing back, but I can also make him attacking wing back and make him balanced. Now remember last year there was instructions, for example, get in behind or stay back while attacking. Think of the focuses and the roles like the instructions as well. So for example, like a fullback, I can make a fullback defend, for example. And this would be a player that effectively be someone that moves on the inside when their team is in possession. So I can make like a back 3. But for example, let's say if I put them, for example, to, let's just say, a regular fullback balanced, you can see they push slightly forward and wide in support of attacks, but they don't go forward. Think of this like a stay back while attacking almost. If I want to make it a wing back, then you can see that now they have the ability to go forward and drop into defense when needed. And if, for example, let's say that can be more like a balanced option. And let's say, for example, I do attacking wing back. You can see when asked to be balanced, attacking wing back is rarely sprints back to defense. So think of this like almost like a left back that's kind of joining the attack. So from last year's instructions examples, roles and instructions kind of encompasses that in each individual one. And if you're part of the Patreon series, I've got a really good series where I explain actually what each one does. Check it out. It's these ones over here actually, where I explain. It's made some time ago because of course I played the game early, so I had pre-existing knowledge of it. But you can see all the list of each position, each role, and I explain to them how they position inside the game and how you can set them up. So that is how that works. But just a simplified version, that's how you can set it. So let's say, and I said I want to set this up to defend, let's say in that 2-2-2 system. So I want to make, for example, as you can see, this player, I want to make them a false back, and I want to make Trent a false back as well. And you can see Trent has the false back plus. I can either make him a defensive false back where he sits a bit deeper, or I can make him a balanced false back. Now you can see in this system, I'm playing in like a 2-4-1-3. Now let's say, for example, I don't know, I wanted to change these players and I wanted to make them, so I can make De Jong a centre half. So now I can make Tonali. Let's say I want to make him, for example, a holding player or a deep line playmaker. And let's say I want to put him like this. And now when I'm in possession, De Jong drops into the defense. Gomez and Van de Ven, they tuck inside. And then Trent and Kadioglu, they end up becoming left CDMs and right CDMs in theory in possession. Think about just left CDMs and right CDMs in terms of their position. They become false backs. So they invert inside, they play as midfielders. Then, for example, let's say Guti, I decided, okay, you know what? I want to make him a cam. So now I can play the system like a 3-3-1-3. And for example, you can see here, yellow. That means that she's out of role and out of focus. Now, this is why the team is important. Because, for example, she can only play that position if she has that role. If she doesn't have that role, you're in trouble. And that is why I'm just going to save this for a second. That's why whatever formation you choose here for chemistry purposes is actually kind of important. Now you can see I've chosen some versatile players. What I mean by that is, so I've chosen Gomez. Gomez can play right back, centre back, and left back. So if I have to move someone around or I have to go to a back three, then Gomez can play to those roles. And what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, I'll show you one more, right? Let's say, for example, I created a tactic. And let's say I wanted to, let's say, I don't know, we want to play a 3-back. Okay, let's say I want to defend in a 3-5-2. Now you've got a problem because you can see I've got a yellow thing there. Now, what do I do here? Because do I really want to play a left centre back out of position? So the benefit of having Gomez, you can just press triangle, by the way, to move the player. The benefit of Gomez is he plays both the centre back and the left back role. So what I could do is, and I'm just going to show another example. If I back out here 1 second, I'm going to swap here Koundé. It's going to bring Koundé in the team. This is going to be just a quick example. So I'm going to bring in Koundé onto my team. Now Koundé is another player. This player can play both as a right back and a centre back. So what I could do is I could put Koundé where Trent is. And as you can see here, he plays a right back and centre back. That's why you can argue the player choices are much more important than you think. So if I go back to that tactic and let's say, okay, I want to go and attack in that, defending that 3-back system. So I want to defend in the 3-5-2. And now you can see, look, Koundé can also play a right back. So if I change, for example, to a 4-back, let's just say hypothetically, you can see Koundé just below me, just over there. Look, he still gets the position plus because that's his native role that he can play there. But if I also go to a 3-back, then he's not out of position. So in my opinion, the back line, and ideally the 2 CDMs, you don't want them to be out of position. So your left mid and right mid, if they're out of position, it's not the end of the world if you're asking me. But in my opinion, Neil Guy's top tip is keep your back 3 or your back 4 always in possession. So that's why the player choice is actually quite important. Maybe you can argue that's going to be the most difficult thing. Now, my best advice is just buy whatever team you can and try and ignore the role pluses and the role pluses. Just trust me on this. Just trust me. Ignore it. Yes, it gives you that boost. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. When I put Lavelle, for example, in that cam role, and I play her there, and I put her as a shadow striker, you can actually feel her. Like she will actually move into positions when I don't need to like sometimes trigger an L1 button. But if I'm a top tier player, I can still trigger the L1 button anyway. And that's why you have to learn how to trigger the L1 button. In fact, I got a whole documentary series on L1 triggers on my Patreon, so you should check that out if you're part of Patreon. But anyways, that is just a quick overview on how tactics work. And of course, inside the game, you press left on the D-pad, you can choose all your tactics inside the game, and you can just create as many as you want. And then of course you can use a code. I do have a website as well, so I'm going to show you this here as well. If you go here, I've got a website that I'm making. If I type in fcroles.com, it takes you to our website, and you can see a list, and you can see, for example, like here, there's a code that I have, and what that code can be used is, if I say to you, this is a tactics video, this is the code. So what I'll do is, midway through the tactics video, I'll send you the code, because you still need to know how to adjust your team. So for example, I can enter this code over here, and I can copy the tactics exactly, and I don't have to worry about setting up myself. That's a No Guys top tip. And guys, thanks for watching. Take it easy, and I'll catch you tomorrow's video. Don't forget, we've got a controller video coming tomorrow at 1 p.m. UK time, about 2 p.m. UK time. And don't forget, if you want to get better FC, Patreon, so patreon.com/NoGuy, links down below in the description, or you can click on the left-hand side of your screen. If you don't get better after 1 month, we'll refund your money. That's a Nil Guys guarantee, so you literally got nothing to lose. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.